Like in Costa Rica, yeah, I met a lot of cool guys in Costa Rica. Panama, same.
I've
In
heard
the
really
States,
good things
same.
about both.
Yeah. Well, my experience in Costa Rica was, whew.
I think the States is better than Canada for actually meeting randoms. Canadians, like, sure, they're polite.
Mhm.
They always say sorry, but, like, almost all the time they don't mean sorry. They just say it because it's a gut reaction when really they hate your guts. And, like, they're very closed-minded people. It's one of those, wait, who are you and why are you talking to me?
But then you're Canadian. Why would you say?
Right? Thing is, I'm Canadian because, like, my mom's Canadian. I spent a lot of summers in Canada, and I went to school in Canada. But it was a very international friendly school, and I didn't hang out with the Islanders. Like, I hung out with the Canadians. I also hung out with the Islanders.
Yeah.
But I've got this, like, to anyone who isn't Canadian, like, yeah, I'm 100% Canadian. But to Canadians, they're like, you're not one of us.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is about what I do or how I hold myself, but, like, Canadians immediately look at me and they're like, yeah, you're not one of us.
Because I've met quite a bit of people, I should excuse my French, I me sound ignorant and uneducated, but I've met a lot of Canadians, shit ton of them, and they're all super sweet and nice. Now don't get me wrong, they harbor some little tension about, you know, their neighbor. But then again, I've met a lot of people from America that was like, you know, my experience in Canada was just all dropping, mind blowing, you know.
Well, Canadians love making visitors
feel welcome.
Yeah,
okay,
like,
so
that's one thing they do really well.
Because it's just a momentarily kind of thing. That's what. Okay, so you're not there long enough to like fully immerse yourself in the culture, to like fully experience it. So it's like traveling anywhere in the world, being there for a short term.
100%. Yeah, when everyone's like, oh my. Canadians are also very spoiled in certain ways. Like, if Canadians come down here, Canadians, like, literally, if you're working in a service job in Canada, I know it's the same in the States.
Yeah.
If you are not like 110%, like at all times when you're on shift, like, you're gonna get yourself in trouble.
I hear you.
Like, if you walk into a store and somebody doesn't walk up and say, hi, how can I help you? Like, Canadians will literally just wander around the store and slowly get more pissed off. They're like, why isn't anyone talking to me? It's like, that's not how it works.
No.
These people aren't lucky to have a job. They've just got their job and they, like, almost can't get fired.
I'm looking for this empanada shop, man. I always struggle to find it.
Man, empanada shop around here. This is a neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is a nice neighborhood.
Alright, you remember that neighborhood I took you to earlier?
Yeah.
And show you the old Belmopan? Well, that's how the old Belmopan used to look.
Oh my God.
Over there used to look so magisterial.
This feels like a walk over to your like neighbors to get like a cup of sugar. And you don't lock your door when you like leave the house.
Right.
Honestly, I don't leave the door or lock the door when I leave the house most of the time. It's kind of bad, but like, no.
I'm not going to lie to you, Chris. 25, 30 years ago, you, depending on where you lived in Belize, yeah, you could leave your door open.
Oh, look at a cat.
Like where
look like the same great one.
Where my parents are.
Man, it sounds like Bermuda. Was it like after independence?
I've eaten right there. Amazing food, by the way.
Independence.
Yeah.
Bermuda desperately, like 50% of Bermuda desperately wants independence, and 50% of Bermuda wants nothing to do with it. Because we look at Jamaica, we look at Turks, we look at Barbados, and we're like, yeah, we enjoy England kind of fucking managing our affairs to a certain extent. Because like, if our politicians got to do whatever they wanted, yeah, we'd be just like that. Bermuda is one of the few places in the world, as far as I know, it's the only place in the world that legalized gay marriage twice. Because there was a referendum, and Bermuda voted like 60 to 40% that they wanted like gay rights. And then the Supreme Court showed up, and like the religious right went nuts. The Supreme Court was like, oh yeah, nobody gets gay marriage. And it's one of the only times I've ever seen the UK step in and be like, Bermuda, you don't get to do that.
Their food is so good that, like, you see how COVID is? This place was operating COVID style before COVID.
I love this little like patio area.
Yeah.
It is like the most wonderful. This is what you can definitely get on Patreon now. Honestly,
we already got that process started going.
I think the best way to run Patreon, and again, like this is kind of shady marketing tactics to a certain extent. So like I technically don't agree with it. People's names through it, so it looks like
that's what my
special that I'm supposed to like click fucking subscribe for you. You know, when people start like begging for that shit, it's weird. But everyone's
all my subscribers.
What I like with Patreon is literally just, and you know what? We'd like to give a big shout out at the end of this video to all of our Patreons. And then you just list a few names, and then everyone's like, oh fuck, he's got a Patreon, man.
Yeah.
Fucking right. So then soon you don't need fake names. You just populate it with real names.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of those, like, you know, I think Leo dude thinks like he's gonna get on there and start making money, and I'm like, no, YouTube is literally where you get your like community, which is more of like people just fucking chatting about, like, just brainstorming. Like that's what the YouTube is good for. You meet other content creators, you start talking about ideas that you have, you start collaborating. But like, you don't do it to get the people interested. You do it because like it's what you want to do, and the people will eventually flock to you as long as you keep coming out with. That's the thing. YouTube people are fickle. If you don't come out with like regular stuff, like if they expect you to come out with a video every day, and you start doing it every week, people get fucking pissed and they just leave. They go somewhere.
Exactly.
If they're used to you doing every week and you don't do anything for a month or two, like they'll just slowly leave. My personal favorite is when YouTube channels get huge and some like next person just buys the channel off the YouTuber. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you do realize they're not here for the channel. Like, the channel name means nothing. They're here for the content creator that you just bought the channel off of, and now as soon as they see that it's not the person they subscribe to,
they're gonna bail.
Come on. But there are some people who like fucking scam YouTube the algorithm like a fucking dream. So supposedly there are these like pre-recorded loop radio, you know, there's like pirate broadcasts like, that they pop up in horror movies where like shit's about to go like terribly fucking wrong. Like, it's that kind of creepy stuff.
No. Dang.
But they have like 40,000 people watching at all time, and they just live stream these pre-recorded things like non-stop. There are literally people who will have like 50-hour like streams and counting.
Right.
Where all they do is just broadcast their fucking like video game hacks.
Woo!
And YouTube doesn't shut them down. Honestly, YouTube shuts down all the people who like maybe do need to get shut down, but are actually trying. Mm-hmm. All the people like screwing with the algorithm and coming out with like absolute gibberish and making stupid amounts of money, they get away with it every time.
Wow.
There are people who do like news broadcasts, but it's just random news broadcasts. Mm-hmm. But they'll put random audio in the background to try to fool YouTube's like audio sensors, and then they'll like put random video on it so that YouTube doesn't see, like, what YouTube does to find like duplicate content is it looks for like pixels in the same place.
Right.
So if you just shift everything over by 5 pixels, like, man, you stretch the photo a little bit and everything is off kilter. The only problem with spending the time to game YouTube is you end up spending just as much time as you would if you were just starting a legitimate business.
Right, that is true.
Like, unless you've just got stupid amounts of money to pay people to run a botnet for you.
Indeed.
And that's expensive.
Sure is.
The internet freaks me out. I like it. I really do. It just freaks me out. I think we need more accessible education for all. And not this, so I'm reading this book right now called The Death of Expertise. And it's written by a university professor. And the part that I'm on now is just a scathing review of universities and their students. Students see themselves as consumers, so if they fail, they feel like they got gypped on their product.
Okay.
And universities pander to students like they're consumers, and they're terrified of letting anyone fail, so they pad everyone's grades to make it look like everyone's doing well and keep everyone happy, so they keep paying their money.
Oh, okay.
So like even like higher education, like you fucking had something that other people didn't.
Right.
If you just do some traveling, that's all you need to learn about people and cultures.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
I do. Belize is not on its own with this, but there's a lot of places in the world where like I've moved and everyone like Belize, it's literally the same everywhere. Like Creole here. Yeah, I understand.
It's not rocket science.
Right? Like, yeah, you just take some words and change the order around, and then
you're in. You're fluent.
The only thing that happened was Belize. I was like, I think she's talking about my suitcase.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I looked it up on Google and I was like, oh yeah, she's talking about my suitcase and like super fancy old school British.
I hear you. They glorify gang. They're out glorifying gangs.
They do.